This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. It's Saturday. It's match day. It's almost old school, isn't it? Football on a Saturday. As you know, previous episodes have seen me heading up to Wembley for the matches, but unfortunately not today. Not for myself, and like many others over those past four matches, it's TV time today. And I realise that I have been fortunate enough to attend when many would have given their right arm to have been there. Although I did see a meme the other day saying more than 1 in 10 England fans would cut off their little finger if it meant that we'd win the Euros. I mean, what use is the little finger? Would we miss it? So after negotiating that round of 16 with the win over Germany, it is essential that we keep concentration, essential that we don't get complacent, essential that we do not underestimate Ukraine, and it's essential that we don't draw after extra time. But playing away kind of makes you realise from a team perspective how important those home games have been and the support that we've been able to give. Wales, they played all away. Hell of a lot of travel they had to do. Portugal, they didn't play at home. Ukraine, again, they've been all over. The Czechs too, they've been travelling. But at time of recording this, shortly before we play the Ukraine, we know 2 of the semi-finalists. In the quarterfinals, Spain saw off Switzerland after extra time on penalties. They won 3-1. Now that was a proper penalty shootout for me. Goalkeeper saving them, balls going way over the bar. Yeah, enjoyed that one. Spain, though, that was their second game that went into extra time. They're going to feel that somewhere down the line. The other quarter-final, that was a big one. Belgium against Italy. Could have gone either way before the game. You could have tossed a coin for that one. It was Italy, though, who saw off Belgium 2-1. Good game, that one. But it means that Spain meet Italy in the first semi-final, which will be played at Wembley. And it means the other semi-final will be comprised of either the Czech Republic or Denmark, or the winners of Ukraine against England. How we'd love to be there. How we'd love to be there. Our game is the last game of the quarter-finals, so they're keeping us hanging. So no pre-match nonsense from me today. I've just got a couple of beers and some ready sorted nuts. I'm going to hide behind my sofa and I'm going to get back to you later, when I hope to be speaking with some more great guests, who, just as a side note, I'd like to take a moment to thank over the last few weeks. They have given up their time to have a bit of a chat, and this podcast wouldn't be the same without them. And indeed yourselves for listening. So once again, thank you very much. I'll get back to you after the game.
Hi, Kate here, live on BBC One, ready to sing Three Lions with you as we watch Ukraine-England. I'm nervous, excited, and I'm daring to dream.
Right, now, it's a very difficult job, and the only way to get through it is we all work together as a team. And that means you do everything I say.
This is the Self-Preservation Society. This is the Self-Preservation Society.
Michael Caine there with the famous quote from The Italian Job. That could also have been Gareth Southgate's pre-match team talk. Well, 4-0, who saw that coming? Who'd thought it'd be that comfortable? I had my feet up at one stage. Who'd have thought we'd be seeing a performance as good as the one against the Netherlands 25 years ago? Let's welcome Dom Smith from englandfootball.org. I know it's one game at a time, but it's hard not to dream now, isn't it? Dom, you all right?
Yeah, much better for the performance against Ukraine, I'll tell you that.
I know. Well, I mean, what do you think Gareth Southgate said to them before they walked out?
Well, he said in the week he's treading a tightrope always about not overloading them with information and giving them too much information and bombarding them, but equally preparing them for each task. And I reckon he'll have asked them to reach the levels that you need to win a match of this, this high caliber. And it was a quarter-final of a major tournament. He was asked about whether he'd rest players ahead of this game, Southgate, and he sort of quashed those and said, what nation on earth would rest players for a semi-final before they've qualified for the damn thing? And I think that's fair. So in the end, his team sheet was pretty much his first team, although Sancho came in as a surprise selection. Yeah, they did a brilliant job. And I reckon his team talk at half-time was probably let's grab that assurance goal as soon as we can. And I think he would have taken that second goal to come in the 94th minute, frankly. But it came, they won the free kick that Maguire scored that thumping header from. I think they won it 10 seconds into the second half and scored it less than a minute into the half. So absolutely brilliant moments for the first goal in the first half, 4 minutes in. Brilliant for the first goal in the second. And England were on their way to a cruising victory, as soon as that second went in, I think.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, Harry Kane with that first goal in the game came, 3 minutes into the game, and it must have been what did he score against Germany with 5 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go? It was as if he was been on a roll, but without the 4 days in between. We just knew that Germany goal was exactly what he needed, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think the people who have said that Harry Kane's been sluggish or out of it or slow are wrong. People who've said that in this tournament are wrong necessarily. But I think there's a mixture between that and he's not been serviced. He hasn't been serviced. Finally, he has been. And he's been defended against very well in this tournament, but not against Ukraine. You didn't see at any point last night. You didn't see him being grabbed quite so tightly as you had for the previous 4 games. You'd seen the German defenders doing it, particularly the Czech Republic as well, and Croatia and Scotland. He'd been grabbed, and when he was holding up the ball, he was having to hold it up and be careful not to get the nudge in the back from the defenders. They weren't as close against the Ukraine, and he responded by scoring 2 goals from open play, doing exactly what a lot of people thought he would after that goal against Germany. It's a bit of a cliche to say, as soon as a striker gets his first, he'll go on a run. That is a bit cringe, isn't it? But it happened, and it happened because of poor defending, but largely because he was there at the right moment to capitalise when he got, I think, 2 of his only 3 opportunities all night. I think he missed that volley, which frankly was a lovely strike in the second half with his left foot. And anyone who thinks he ought to have scored that with his wrong foot from that far out is deluded. he missed a header. He missed a header in the first half from a free kick, where the ball was a little bit above him. But other than that, the other 2 opportunities he put away with much aplomb. So yeah, nothing to complain about at all.
Yeah, that first one, he was in the 6-yard box, much where we like to see him. The second one, he was literally 7 yards out and headed down and in. But you say he was being supplied, he was being provided. That first goal, Raheem Sterling, who I thought had quite a good game. I mean, all the players had a good game, but Raheem Sterling just threaded that ball through to Kane to slip through, much like the way that Calvin Phillips slipped it through to him to score in the opening game against Croatia. But yeah, that's where we want to see Harry Kane, in and around that 6-yard box, not dropping so deep. And to say we have, I don't think we've had harsh words over Harry Kane, but I think we've been rightly critical. I don't know.
Questioning, I'd say.
Questioning. Yeah, I think that's fair. Then we had a fantastic effort. Declan Rice. I jumped up, obviously, when Harry Kane scored straight away, but I think had Declan Rice effort gone in, it was just one of those ones where, I don't know if you remember, who was it? Alan Partridge done a sketch a football sketch where he goes, "Wow, did you see that? He's got a foot of a traction engine or something," and it just reminded me of that one. If that had have gone in, that would have made his tournament. I think he's had a great tournament as well up until now. He caught that cleanly, which incidentally that came from a Raheem Sterling in and around the box.
Yeah, it was Paul Scholes-esque, wasn't it? Arriving at the edge of the area to hammer the ball. Unfortunately, it didn't have the result, which was the net bulging. But no, Sterling had another great England game, and to judge someone like that on goals and assists is to be much too crude about what he offers to the team. You know, ultimately he has got goals and assists in his England games in this tournament, but he offers so much more. When England played 3-4-3 in the match against Germany, the worry, of course, is that you lose that playmaker, you lose that Mason Mount type player. But actually, he dropped so well when he needed to pick up the ball and collect it and run forward and play in players like Saka. And he did it even with Mount, you know, against Ukraine. He still did that brilliantly. And it was while he was trying to find some space to move into himself that he saw the opportunity to pass it through to Kane and put it through about 4 bodies and just caught Kane onside, which was, I couldn't believe the accuracy and the weight of the pass there. I thought it was lovely. I thought Luke Shaw deserves a mention as well, who didn't win the official UEFA Man of the Match or Star of the Match, as they call it. Harry Kane did, because if you score 2 goals in any game, you'll always get Man of the Match unless someone else scored 3. But no, Luke Shaw won the England Man of the Match and fully deserved it, because he at the moment looks like one of the world's best left backs. I'm not sure he necessarily is, but he's having a fantastic tournament. And I think last night he equalled David Beckham as the England's best ever assister in a single European Championships. David Beckham got 3 at Euro 2000, which is remarkable considering how rubbish England were at Euro 2000. But no, Luke Shaw's been fantastic in this tournament. And actually, I think his performances have risen every single time he's played. And Southgate made that point. He didn't play against Croatia. He played against Scotland and didn't take enough risks. He played against the Czech Republic and was slightly better. Germany was involved in both the goals and ultimately assisted the first, I think. 2 assists against Ukraine and was also involved in the first Kane goal, which Sterling assisted. So yeah, he's been brilliant. And I feel a bit for Ben Chilwell, who's one of the only outfield players who's not got on the pitch, and I would have liked to see him come on for minutes rather than Trippier late on. And I was actually saying that I'd like to see Chilwell given minutes if England are winning, regardless of the scoreline. So when it was 3 or 4-0 and Trippier came on, I was a bit disappointed to see that, because I think Chilwell is pretty close to the level of Shaw on that left flank. But ultimately, Shaw's been given the selections in this tournament, and he's absolutely risen to the occasion.
Yeah, just something that you mentioned there, totally sort of off topic, and you mentioned the star man. It only occurred to me the other day that's just a promotional thing, isn't it? Did you know that? Because go on. Is it because it's Hisense? I was under the impression it's isn't it Heineken's star man, and Heineken's logo is a star. I may have got this totally wrong.
No, that sounds suitably capitalist. I think you're probably right.
I may have got that wrong. So, I mean, email me, tweet me, whatever, if I've got that wrong. But it only occurred to me the other day. But there you go.
No, the cynic in me believes you there.
So, I mean, we went in, as say, 1-0 up at half-time. We've spoken about what Gareth would have said at half-time. But they came out, as you say, 10 seconds in. Harry Kane won a free kick. And initially I was like, well, what's that given for? But the fella stamped on his foot. As you say, Shaw crossed it in. And Maguire, slabhead now has come back into everyone's vocabulary. And he thumped it home, didn't he?
He did. I'm trying to think about how many England players in history have scored goals in knockout matches in World Cups and Euros. I reckon it's a number that you could count on one hand, but Harry Maguire is one of them. Because he scored that thumping header in the quarterfinal against Sweden in 2018, and he scored another thumping header against Ukraine in the quarterfinals this time round. I'm trying to rack my brains. I've got Alan Shearer. He's definitely in there. I don't know if Lineker scored in the knockout rounds of the Euros. I know he did it in 2 different World Cups. But England were pretty bad at the Euros when Lineker was playing.
Yeah,
88 and 92 didn't go particularly well, did
well,
they?
he didn't make it to knockouts, no.
No. So there can't be that many. Harry Kane's, of course, one of them, but Harry Maguire is as well, and he is a man for the big occasion, Harry Maguire, and it was a nice sight and sound to see and hear his head, his slab head as they call it, connecting with the arcing ball and thumping into the corner. That was a lovely way for England to get their second goal, and I watched all the players trailing behind him as he ran to the corner flag to celebrate, and Raheem Sterling had his eyes were wide open, like he couldn't quite believe that it was one of his centre backs who'd scored England second. But it was a brilliant goal,
wasn't it? Just and we say Harry Kane got his second one with a header just outside the 6-yard box. But then the fourth goal, who would have thought? I know you spoke with Jordan Henderson after the. Well, we know obviously he missed the penalty in was it the Austria-Romania friendly? Either one.
Romania, yeah.
Romania. And then obviously he had his goal chalked off against, who was that? Was that Czech Republic?
It was against the Czech Republic, yeah.
And you spoke to him post-game and he said he could feel it coming.
He did. I was... that press conference was getting to the end, and I could tell that he was in a good mood. And I had a really deep sort of philosophical England question or a silly question about his disallowed goal. And I actually kind of wish that I went for the better question, because when I heard his answer, I was like, "What were you expecting, Dom?" But of course, it was stuff that I could barely use. And then he actually put it into the net, which was very kind of him. I'm very pleased that he was able to repay me there. And yeah, perfect. You could see that what it meant to him. I mean, He celebrates very kind of vigorously when he scores for Liverpool, but we haven't seen that for England because he's been so unlucky. I think he's had 43 shots in his England career without scoring, and the 44th went in finally. And you could see the relief because it was a monkey on his back, and he's suitably shoved it off. England scored their fourth, and I think the clock was only 65 minutes or something stupid. So. Yeah, it was one of those nights, and I've heard it described like as this, where Gareth Southgate was able to tick pretty much all the boxes that he could possibly have wanted ticked. The only thing maybe that didn't happen that he have liked is a goal or assist for Jadon Sancho, who was given a rare start, indeed his first in this tournament, and therefore his first in a major tournament for England, if you discount the Nations League, which I think it's fair to do. I thought Sancho had a really good game, actually.
No, you're right. And much like Jack Grealish, everyone wanted him to come on in previous games. Now, Jadon Sancho hadn't had that start. Everyone wanted to see him start, and he did. And you say had a great game. Some of the touches he had, they highlighted one on the telly where I think he beat a couple of men just keeping that ball to his feet like glue, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't the right game for Grealish. And just as soon as the match ended, after he'd spoken to Shevchenko, Southgate went straight over to Grealish and, put his arm around him and explained, I think, I'm guessing that's what he was doing, explained why it wasn't the match for him, which is a extraordinarily early moment to tell him. I'd be telling him on the coach journey home. And to be fair, they don't go in the same coach, I don't think, or on the plane home or the following day. But no, it was literally as soon as the match had ended, he put his arm around Grealish and he was probably explaining, this is why this match wasn't for you, but I've got a match in mind, and I assume it's the European Championship semi-final, which is a tasty fixture to play in if you're Jack Grealish, whether from the start or as a substitute. But no, England were already winning in that game and needed some pace to get away on the counter as Ukraine pushed, but in the end. I thought Rashford actually played quite well when he came on. He made a few bursts. You could see he was trying to play for his place. But actually, in the end, there was no hunger late on from Ukraine. They looked a beaten side. They knew they were beaten, and it was obvious, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, you said it there. It takes us into a European Championships semi-final. For the first time since 1996, Denmark are the opposition. How do you feel about that?
Nervous, to be honest. They're a very, very handy side, and this is the problem with football history: is you tend to get distracted by how nations of, especially in international football, how nations have done in the past and over many, many decades. But that might not have relevance to how good a team is, now. So Croatia, for example, I think were maybe underestimated by England in 2006, in 2007, in 2009, in 2018, numerous times. And I think we finally learned to take them seriously. Just because they haven't won a trophy, that doesn't mean they're not a major footballing force. And just because this Denmark team, are the same country who has only won Euro 1992 and never got to a World Cup semi-final, etc., we've got to be careful not to underestimate them. But if there's one England team of the past that's going to make sure they don't underestimate their opponents, I think it is this one. And I think Southgate's a big reason behind that. I don't think they'll underestimate Denmark, who can cause England problems, especially down the flanks. They're a very handy side. England have got to work on their set pieces this week. I know they scored twice from set pieces against Ukraine, which was good to see. They've got to work on transitioning the midfield to the attack. It's important that players like Mount and Sterling, who you'd assume will start, can link to Harry Kane and provide for Harry Kane. The fullbacks have got to take risks, because if you're too nervous, you're just going to have a result or a performance like it was against Scotland. And I do think Scotland was the worst performance of this tournament, mainly because the fullbacks didn't take risks. They played on the halfway line for the entire game, and they never tried to go past their man. Now, I understand why they might do that against Denmark for fear of defeat, but if you don't go and take risks to try and win, you won't win. So I hope that England are ballsy and go for the jugular. And if they do, I think they've got enough to win.
Which then, well, let's just look at the other semi-final very briefly. Italy, Spain. If you were to pick one, who would it be?
I don't know who I'd rather play against. I think maybe Spain is a team that you can get at more. They probably offer less in attack. You can probably defend against them better, and you can probably get in behind them more easily. So I think Spain you'd rather play, but Italy is probably the team that it will be, and so you've got to assume that it will be Italy in that final, and that they'll continue their form. They've won every game they've played so far. England haven't. They drew with Scotland. That said, England have got clean sheets in all of their games. I think it will be Italy, but even if it's Spain, that still rolls on to the following day, where England have got to do what they need to do to get there. You can't be watching Tuesday night and thinking, we've got Spain next or we've got Italy next. No, you've got to win your semi-final first. They'll be pushed on by a buoyant crowd at Wembley. We know that that's true. And we know that they'll have a lot of support behind them at home as well, and indeed throughout the world. But they've got to actually do it. And to do that, they've got to be defensively tight at the back, which they have been. And they've got to score some goals, which is what they've started to do. I think England are the favourites, and I think England are more likely to win than Denmark. But that doesn't mean that it will happen. We know as England supporters not to look beyond the next game. Henry Winter came on my podcast a few weeks ago and said, I tend to not look beyond the next corner with England. And I think that sums it up nicely.
Yeah, no, you're right. One game at a time. One game at a time. Just one other thing. Back to Gareth Southgate, soon to be Sir Gareth. No, let's one game at a time. He said after the game, he gave this real human touch. He said it's the players that he has to leave out of the match day squad that he feels for. It's such a job for him to pick the right players, the right team, and just the whole man management. He's getting it spot on at the moment, isn't he?
Well, people will argue about, till the cows come home, whether or not tactically he's the man to lead England. But he's certainly the human to lead England. He's certainly the person that you'd want in charge of your national team, considering after the Prime Minister and perhaps a few other jobs, not very many, this is the most demanding job in this country. He's got 100 tasks to... Clive Tilsey described it like this. He said he's got 100 tasks to do and he can do 99 perfectly. But if he gets the one wrong, he's finished and he's remembered for exactly what he doesn't want to be remembered for. Yeah. And we know how England managers are remembered. The fake shake, the telegraph sting, the turnip, other things like that. You're not going to go down in history very well when you finish your work as England manager. But Gareth Southgate will say, I haven't finished my work as England manager, and he's doing a very good job of it. And to go into the press conference and start off by speaking about the players who didn't get on, I think speaks of a man who has such humility and such, at moments, his sort of self-reflection and his guilt as a person can actually detract from what he's doing. I think he sometimes over worries about how he's being perceived to others and if he's offended them. We see that the penalty miss still kills him 25 years on, even after beating Germany. But at other moments, it's his greatest strength. Make no mistake about it. I don't care how talented the England squad is. Without the right manager, you can have as talented squad as you want, but you're not going to get anywhere. And Southgate and all of his backroom staff have been note perfect in this tournament. And if they do get to the final, which we're all hoping they will do, he'll be a massive, massive reason why.
Absolutely. Nicely put. Dom, just once more, we all know where you are on Twitter. I say at Mr. Dom Smith, but you mentioned the podcast there again. Just briefly mention it again for us.
Yeah, so obviously I write with englandfootball.org, but I've also got a podcast going during the Euros, England Unmasked. You can find it on Spotify and indeed most platforms that you'd go for your podcasts. And basically, I host it with my friend Luke Edwards, who's a freelance researcher at the BBC. And we try and speak to leading football journalists after each England game, including the ones which England lose, although that hasn't happened yet, fingers crossed, to dissect the results. We've spoken to Henry Winter, chief football writer at The Times, John Cross, chief football writer at The Mirror, Faker others of TalkSport, various others. And we'll be back again after the Denmark match. So you can find England Unmasked on Spotify or any other podcast platform that you can think of, pretty much.
Super. Well done on that. And hopefully, maybe we can talk again in this European Championships finals. There's not long left. We've got a week, I think, left. It finishes, the final is Sunday, July the 11th. One game at a time. Dom, thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
Hi, it's David Airy here, back by unpopular demand. Any pre-match nerves that I'd built yesterday were soon calm thanks to the early goal. I'm not a stato, but that seemed very quick for a recent England international goal. Said last time Maguire was key, and scoring the second goal so early in the second half pretty much destroyed Ukraine's morale. Thought those fans in the ground did us proud and dispels the myth about the ground needing to be full for the atmosphere to be decent. Thank the Lord I'll be in the ground on Wednesday, as another evening with Jermaine Dennis is too much to bear. Roll on Wednesday. Farville.
Hi Russell, regular listener here, Dom from Exeter. I'm currently actually self-isolating with COVID, so I've not enjoyed the games as much as I would have done, but nevertheless, if we get to the final, I'll be out for it. Next game, very good team against Denmark, but if we play like we did against Ukraine and Germany, then I can't see anyone stopping us. We're also back at home in the semi-final. So we are the ones really to beat. I think every country left in it will be looking to us as the favourites, really. And it's the first time we've ever sort of actually been the favourites. In 2018, we got to this stage, but there was always France in the final. Croatia were as good as us. But now we genuinely look like we can win this. It is actually coming home.
Hello, Russell. Gary here from Channel England Football again. What a result. You can't help but feel that was a turning point for England. How many times have we ever seen England play like that? So comfortable in a quarter-final, 4-0 victory. It was fantastic. One of the best nights of my time watching England. I think we've got enough to beat Denmark, but it'll be a tough game. And then the final is anyone's. But come on, England. I think now is the chance. Now or never. What a result.
Great all-round performance. Believe that the critics are now eating their words. Southgate seems to have won a lot of them over, including the pundits on Match of the Day. A good all-round performance by all, and things are looking up. Mark Kirkpatrick, watching at home like most of us.
Hi Russell, it's Sam here from It's Coming Home TV. I mean, what a performance that was against Ukraine. 4 great goals. The early goal definitely helped, I think, settle the team down. Obviously, the quick goals in the second half as well really sort of, I think, put a lot of pressure onto Ukraine. And I think it was the most comfortable game I think we'll ever watch. Absolutely gutted that we couldn't be there, but really, really looking forward to that semi-final on Wednesday now. We need to start believing in ourselves.
Hi, it's Mike Curtis again. Yesterday was something as an England fan that brings back memories back to Euro 96 where we destroyed the Dutch. It was mental, majestic, blimmin' brilliant. Watched home with the old man, another clean sheet, 4 goals scored. For me, Kane should have had a hat-trick. My man match is a toss-up between Shaw and Kane. Nice one for all the England fans in Rome. Well happy for them, but gutted not to be there myself with the lads. But bring on the days on Wednesday. It just might be coming home.
Oh, once again, thank you very much for all your input there on your thoughts on last night's game. Real positivity there. Love it. Thank you very much. And let's do it again after the Denmark game, semi-final. That's right. Yeah, just email your thoughts, threelionspodcast@gmail.com. Rome, that was where we were. We all wanted to be there. Few of you got through. And I'm pleased to say that I am joined by someone who was there, Matthew Halliday. You all right?
Hi, Russell. Yes, I'm very well, thank you, especially after being there in Rome last night.
We spoke previously. You were kind enough we had a chat. It was about your first England away game, which I think we put out middle of last year, which was 0-0 against Costa Rica. Slightly different last night, wasn't it?
You know, it's funny you bring that up because I was just saying to my friends after the game, like, just the contrast between last night and then 7 years ago, where, you know, when I flew out to Brazil 2 days after England got knocked out in the group stage, and obviously with my first game there being the irrelevant 0-0 dead rubber against Costa Rica, and then obviously 7 years later we're here where we are, and we shouldn't have made it look so easy in a quarter final of the Euros, but we did, and it was one of the most calmest England games I've ever been fortunate to witness. There was really barely any stress or worries at all. It was just an absolute pleasure to watch.
So back here, there was all the media talk about England fans cannot travel over to Rome. Obviously, we know why, but there was a really healthy contingent of England fans over there. A lot of them, obviously, European-based. Like yourself, you're based in Sweden, so that's how I'm guessing you've managed to transit your way through to Rome. Tell us, what was it straightforward? How did you get your ticket and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I knew all along that I would be fine going because obviously, you know, Sweden is in the Schengen zone, so I knew that the Italians would let me in, and I also have a Swedish passport as well, which, you know, boosted my confidence even further. So I actually got 3 tickets straight after the final whistle against Germany on Tuesday. A very kind England fan gave them to me because he was unable to go because of the Italian government's quarantine rules that were imposed early last week. Yeah, I was obviously blown away by how kind he was because he wasn't able to get money back from UEFA either. You know, he probably saw on my Twitter profile that I was, you know, a genuine England fan who was just looking to go to the game and no other motive. Yeah, as soon as I got the tickets, I then booked my flights and then flew out on Friday via Amsterdam and arrived late on Friday evening, just as the Italian game was ending. Yeah, and then was able to go out for a bit on Friday night for a few beers with 3 expats that I travelled with.
Right. 2
of them also live in Stockholm and one of them lives in Holland.
Right. Just a quick one. Do you know the name of the guy that gave you the tickets? Do you deserve a shout out?
Yes, he does deserve a shout out, and his name is Mark.
Mark, you know who you are, Mark. You gave Matthew his tickets, so full credit to you. Nice one. That's the beauty of England fans and football fans in general, helping each other out.
Absolutely.
So here at Wembley, we've had to go through the whole COVID situation, like lateral flow test. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I took my COVID test in Stockholm on the Friday morning because I had to make sure that it was within 48 hours of the kickoff on Saturday, which was 9 p.m. European time. So that it was good for me in that I was able to, you know, have the same test for my flight, you know, from Stockholm to Rome, but also I could then use that test for the game as well.
Right.
So it worked out well in that respect.
Excellent. So you landed just as Italy were finishing their game, were you?
Exactly. Yeah. So that was quite exciting, obviously, because it's always nice to go to a country that still has their team involved in a tournament, because obviously the nation is still fully, you know, involved with it. And the atmosphere on Friday night when we had a few drinks in the streets was brilliant, and obviously it just whetted the appetite ahead of Saturday evening's game as well.
So moving on to that game. Well, you've obviously seen England and the performances through the group stage, and obviously the Germany game. What were your thoughts going into the Ukraine game?
Yeah, I was very, very confident that we would win. I thought it would be 2-0, however. So I wasn't expecting, us to just really produce such a perfect performance. I think that the two biggest points for me were that set pieces are well and truly back. Up until yesterday, there'd been, some talk about how they weren't as good as what they were in Russia 3 years ago. And, straight away, the team has just put those doubts to bed immediately with, two fantastic set pieces. I thought it was interesting that Shaw took the set piece from Maguire's goal ahead of, midfielders such as Sancho, for example. Yeah. I mean, it just really sums up how critical he is, and the fact that Shaw was withdrawn early on as well really shows how high he is in Southgate's views. And then the second point is that we now well and truly know that Harry Kane is on his goal scoring run, which he does so many times throughout his career, and it gives me so much confidence again ahead of Wednesday, really. So to get 4 goals was just amazing, because I felt we maybe could have got the second before half time. So the fact that it came, the second and third came, within, was it 5 minutes of the second half starting, was just perfect. And then it was just a pleasure to watch.
It was the Stadio Olimpico. Whereabouts were you there, and what is it like in there? Because it's a ground I've not been to.
Yeah, it's so I was in the Curva Sud, meaning south in English. So I was to the right of the TV cameras as you look at it on the TV. So I would say that most of the England fans were in that area, which actually made for a pretty good atmosphere, all things considered, because I'm not the biggest fan of the grounds with an athletics track, but I think the roof above certainly boosted the atmosphere within the ground, to be fair, especially when you consider that obviously it wasn't a full capacity. So we were certainly very loud, and the ground did make for a good atmosphere still. So.
It was a really good atmosphere, and all the England fans in there. You could hear you on the telly back here.
I'm glad you say that.
Loud and clear. It was really sort of, because beforehand I was under the impression that there was going to be quite a large Ukrainian presence in there, and there was. We saw the Ukrainian fans on the telly, but I don't know, was it 50-50 between you guys?
It wasn't. I have to say, Russell, I thought before the game, having been in Rome, wandering around during the day, that it would be 50-50, but it was only when, at the final whistle, when you saw in all 4 corners of the ground, all the England fans obviously came to the front when the team were doing a lap of honour. Yeah. And then I realised, actually, we did have representation in, all areas of the ground. I thought we were mainly in the area where I was, because Ukraine certainly did have a section directly opposite me. But I would say we did outnumber them. Yeah, you can never underestimate an England supporter, can you? With all their travelling and everything.
Find our way, don't we?
Yeah, it's every tournament we come up good with it. It's brilliant.
That's excellent. And so after the game, where you find yourself anywhere in Rome?
Yeah, I went back with I was with 5 expats, and we went to some street bars again, and we were out probably until about 2:30 in the morning. Yes, celebrating the victory. So it was a great night.
Excellent. And so, I mean, we're talking to you. You're in Amsterdam. Is that Schiphol Airport you're in at the moment?
Correct.
Yeah. So making your way back. What are your thoughts now looking ahead to Denmark, and dare you think a little bit further?
I think it's great to be back at Wembley, knowing that, we haven't got any more travelling to do, whatever happens. And it also feels good that there's now just like 1 game left before the final. So, we just need to focus on that Denmark game and get the win, which I am confident of. And then we can we can look at things after that. But full focus on Wednesday for now, absolutely. But yeah, I'm very, very confident. I mean, I didn't see much of the Denmark game, but it didn't seem to me that they blew away the Czechs, like we did to the Ukrainians. So let's fingers crossed for Wednesday. But I'm very hopeful of the win.
Matthew, great to hear from you. Thank you very much for joining us, and literally on behalf of all of us sat on our sofa or in a pub across England or anywhere in the world, for you guys to be there and cheering on the boys for us. No, thank you very much, and have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
And yeah, let's hope to speak again at some point.
Absolutely, Russell. Thank you.
Right then, Denmark it is. And I'd like to welcome to the Three Lions podcast, Poul Olsen. He's on Twitter at _clap_hat or clap hatton. Paul, you all right?
I'm all right, thanks. Russell, yourself?
Yeah, very good, very good. Excited?
Very much so. Thanks for having me on. And we look forward to bashing the Three Lions here in the coming week. So it'll be an exciting week.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you? You're in Denmark, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in Denmark. And everything is going completely national team bonkers frenzy. So if there's something with the voice, that's because yesterday was a long night. So
yeah. Well, we've all been there. We all know exactly how it feels. I mean, going into the tournament, did you expect this?
Me personally, as an idiot, I did hope for this, and I think that the positive side of the people, we sort of hope for the semifinals. And I think it's a goal for the team as well. So I wouldn't say we expected it, but with the draw coming out as it did, it's not like a miracle, not yet at least.
Not yet. To say it's been a little bit of a hard slog for you is a little bit of an understatement. Just to go back over those group stage games, you lost to Finland in the opener 1-0, and then you lost to Belgium 2-1, and then you absolutely annihilated Russia 4-1 in a game in Copenhagen there. Let's just start with the obvious. That first game against Finland, I personally, you wouldn't have lost that had the circumstances been different.
No, I mean, here we've sort of written it off on tactically or what happened on the pitch because, I don't know what to say about that. I was in the stadium and it was not a nice feeling to be there, and it was not a nice thing that they continued the game and all that. So luckily, it didn't matter in the end, but that was a night game. So we've basically written it off like Chinese style.
But I mean, from the way I look at it, we get a lot of, obviously, the media saying about Christian Eriksen and all the good news that he's feeling well now. Would it be safe to say, though, that the Danish team are running on that emotion as well?
No, it wouldn't. I think that very much are running on emotional fuel from that Christian Eriksen incident. And it was tight-knit group beforehand, but they've really come together now, and with the Kasper Hjulmand, the coach, really the leader of the bunch, and it's really good unit. That being said, it's also not to be neglected that these are quality players playing for quality clubs all around Europe. So the Eriksen incident haven't hurt the team. Apart from the obvious that our best player doesn't play anymore, but other than that, it's been a good thing.
Yeah. The Russia game, were you there for that one?
I was, yes.
What a game that was.
Yeah, that was amazing. There's a difference between a scrappy goal or corner kick goal to the emotion from a long-range shot. And we were spoiled by 3 in that game, and it's just mayhem. I mean, that was amazing game.
It's a great stadium, that one, the Parken in Copenhagen. It's so tight to the pitch, and it really did feel like, well, the fans really connected with the players there. I mean, some of the grounds in this tournament, you got your Baku and Seville. It's the stands are so far away from the spectators, but that game there, it was everything was just perfect, really, for you.
Yeah, it really was, and I couldn't agree more. I don't know if a free choice of all the stadiums in Europe, and they chose 5 athletic stadiums, but be that as it may. The Russian game and that evening, everything about it was just perfect for us, at least. And it was amazing, and it sparked this wave that we're riding on now, not on the team, but in the country, as the Euro frenzy keeps going. That started that night.
So round of 16, you faced Wales. And I think, obviously, the Christian Eriksen incident, Denmark have kind of become everyone's second team, really. They all want to see you do well until we come up and play you, obviously. And I think that's how Wales felt. But you've dispatched them with ease. And then, obviously, the Czech Republic in the quarter-final. I don't know, it wasn't the easiest of games, that one, but you came through it.
Yeah, we did. The Wales game kind of just panned out for us. And if we're allowed to play against one of those teams that they have to force the game, then we are dangerous on the counter. That happened against Russia as well. Czech Republic game, you would have thought would have gone in the same vein. And I think we could have won that game maybe 3 or 4-1 as well, if a couple of other things has gone right. But this game was tough. I mean, this is the worst game we've played. Apart from the Finland game, which doesn't exist. So it was really a struggle and a battle. And proved that our team really, they can stand low. And we have Andres Christensen, Simon Kjær, and Yannick Vestergaard, Kasper Schmeichel, players whom you no doubt familiar with. So we can keep it low and just block off. And we did that. And semis. So.
Yeah, you mentioned Kasper Schmeichel there. I mean, he's just in the right place at the right time, isn't he? Obviously, he's been there for Leicester and done it there, and he's coming through with yourselves. He's the number one. You have got some great players in that team, and they're a team to be feared. Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about that, because our offensive players are not as recognizable as in the England side is a list of God-given talent up front, but especially defensively, we are a world-class team from the back. So I don't know if that is to be feared, but it certainly can be rather irritating to play against, I guess. Yeah.
We've played each other a fair few times over the years. Apparently, we've met 21 times. England have won 12. Denmark have won 4, and there have been 5 draws. And the most recent of games was, in fact, a victory for Denmark back in the Nations League when we had no fans in the ground at Wembley. Christian Eriksen penalty. I mean, do you take heart from that, I guess?
I believe we do. That game actually became a little bit famous because we had a famous game against England at Wembley back in the 80s where our big star, Alan Simonsen, scored a penalty goal and we won 1-0. And so we kind of ran the tape back. Yeah, this was just a Nations League game, but I think we're going to take a lot from that. We played you 2 games. We didn't concede a goal. Obviously, the win we had at Wembley was a little bit skewed by an early send-off for Harry Maguire. Yeah. But, we consider England favourites, definitely. But we don't dislike the role as an underdog. In fact, our best game at this tournament was against Belgium, which interestingly we lost, but by far the best game we played.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that game like the early 80s, and I think I got a funny feeling that was one of Bobby Robson's very early games as England manager, and I think it knocked us out of qualification for Euro 84, I think. But another game that I do remember, a game that I actually went to, 2002 in the World Cup in Japan. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh, yes. That's a horror game. As much of a horror game as they come. An early drop from the keeper, and England scores. I think it was Rio Ferdinand, and from there on it was just one-way traffic and get this match and tournament over with and dusted as quickly as possible.
Yeah, England fans doing the conga in the rain. I remember that one, getting bullet trains home through the night in Japan. Great memories from that one.
I bet.
We can't have a a Denmark conversation without sort of referring back to previous Danish teams who've done well. Obviously, there's the 1992 team, which probably went with no fear because of the circumstances that came with it. But I've got a book here that I'm sure you may be aware of. It's called Danish Dynamite. For anyone that isn't aware of this book, Danish Dynamite, the story of football's greatest cult team. It refers back to the 1986. So it probably starts really at that where we mentioned the early 80s team that put England out, but sort of more focuses in on the 86 World Cup and those sort of players of Laudrup and we also had Frank Arnesen, Jesper Olsen. Jan Molby was involved with it as well. I mean, that was a real cult team. Is this team up there with that team or even the 92 team?
Yeah, obviously the biggest legends that walk on Danish earth are the 20 guys who won the Euros in 1992.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it's not the most popular team because that 86 team, they played their behinds off and in an offensive way, play style, Holland-esque, and the players was so emotionally explicit about what they did. Especially, we had a striker called Preben Elkjær Larsen, fantastic person, fantastic player, and this new crop now it rivals them, I think, because it's positive football. We score a lot of goals, and now after that Eriksen incident, no one's afraid of showing emotions. And you saw Pierre-Emil Højbjerg yesterday on his knees crying, helplessly crying, and Thomas Delaney, the other midfielder, came running in, giving a hug like a father hugs his children. And so the emotion they share with us, the country, Denmark, we're in awe of it, and we're really, really behind this team now. This is probably the most popular team since that 86 team.
Do you think you can do this? Can you beat England?
We're on this cloud nine now, so we believe in anything. I would prefer Spain in the final, so that's where we are.
But lots of Carlsberg being drunk, I guess.
Oh yes, and poured. So the majority of apartments in Copenhagen on a day like this smell like beer because of the beer showers. So
we're used to that.
I bet so.
Yeah. Paul, we found you on Twitter. Go on, just explain to us what you do on Twitter, your Twitter handle and all that.
Yeah, the Twitter handle is the Clap Hat, and it's basically the thing we wear, all the Danish fans, when there's a national team football game. It's a hat with two clapping hands, and you can, you have to see it to know
pull
what
the
it
string
is.
underneath, don't you, and the hands move.
Yeah, yes, rightfully so. What I do a little bit of, I follow the transfer news for Danish players, Danish teams, and do a little bit of scouting for Danish players abroad and at home to see how the connection between the national team and the youth teams. And so give it a shout or listen or look.
Yeah, well, I will link to it on the Three Lions podcast. Paul, thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the game. May the best team win.
Oh, yes, don't mention it, and good luck to you.
There we go. England are in the semi-finals of the European Championships 2020 in 2021. Wembley is the venue, Denmark the opposition. Much like Ukraine, it is important we don't underestimate them. But it is certainly something to be excited and nervous and proud about. My thanks go to Poul Olsen there. You can find him at _clap_hat. Thanks to Matthew Halliday, who brought us the experience of Rome. He's Matt Halliday 9. And of course, Dom Smith from englandfootball.org at Mr. Dom Smith on Twitter there. Again, thank you for tuning in and for providing your 30-second reviews. Don't forget, you can find the show on all the usual podcast platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. And if you've not done it yet, a review on the likes of iTunes would be most appreciated. I've managed to get this episode done during daylight hours, in between various media duties. I've never been so busy, including a piece on the new GB News. So my last word has to go to Alastair Stewart, who I had a chat with. Some of you may remember him from Police Camera Action and, of course, ITV News fame. These were his kind words about the podcast.
I'm not going to ask you for a prediction because I believe that that's actually bad luck. So we'll just both smile at each other and hope that your podcast is full of ways and do-do-do-do's when you do it. But enjoy this evening very much indeed. Good to see you, Russell. Thanks very much indeed.
I'll be back after the Denmark game. Maybe. Just maybe. Cheers.